ahead.
Okay, guys, can you hear me?
Yep.
I'm not nervous at all. So anyway, I decided to change careers and enrolled in UD's MBA program 9 years after earning my bachelor's degree. Once I was about halfway through that program, prospective employers began recruiting me. Having not interviewed for a few years, I knew well, I was surprised uh, by how much interviewing tactics had changed. One question in particular, some led to some introspection that has empowered me to approach my new discipline with confidence and certainty. Uh, they said, Kevin, if you were an animal, what would you be? Uh, it seems obvious that question was an opportunity to describe my interests and the experiences and knowledge that define me. Asked that by several organizations I sat with, I found myself at a loss. It wasn't that I thought the question wasn't appropriate or useful. It was more because I thought that I might not be qualified because, I was never very good at biology. For most of my adult life, and maybe before, my main interests have been my family, which I think every young person goes through that, and geopolitics, reading a lot of news on the subject. On that subject, one of the more important points to make is that I've always been different. You know, if you're talking about my attributes, my hobbies, what makes me me, and the best way to share that, it's really the best way to say that I'm weird without hurting my own feelings. I wondered where that left me. More importantly, I considered whether being different might be a strength. Uh, it seemed reasonable to conclude that because those who are different are more likely to challenge the status quo. In grad school, I read that receptivity to new experiences is closely related to professional success. Um, at the time, considering examples from history gave me more reason to be optimistic. I mean, daring to be different, it has empowered me. Uh, or excuse me, it has empowered me, but it also has empowered some of the world's most prominent organizations to develop sustained competitive advantages. For example, during the Battle of France in 1940, the French military relied on heavily outdated tactics from World War One, the Maginot Line, which was considered impregnable, showing a classic example of what experts call core rigidity. They invested everything into one very static asset. They were so committed to their tried and true, tactics that they failed to foresee how quickly warfare was changing. Meanwhile, the German military focused on frontline improvisation, displaying what is called frontline focus. The approach allowed them to adapt dynamically and made rapid decisions on the battlefield. The result was obviously devastating for the French. It's actually called the strange defeat because the French were what was known at the time. They were well known for being probably the most formidable military power in the world. Similarly, for another example, Boeing's success with the 747 is, that is a great example because, for 3 decades, it dominated the jumbo jet market. On the other hand, Airbus made a costly misstep by investing heavily in the A380, which was an even larger plane, trying to break in and capture some of that jumbo jet market. and they were really looking to replicate the strategy to get Boeing's success. Instead of creating the future, they relied on performance proofs, which Warren Buffett famously he warned us against doing. Um, so, failing to recognize the shift toward more fuel efficiency, um, it actually resulted in a lot of losses, and the life cycle of the A380 was extremely short. Um, Lastly, if we're talking about geopolitics, consider the Russian Su-57, which is their fifth generation fighter, versus the American F-22 Raptor. First of all, it's called a Raptor, so that's really cool. Russia, they focused on maneuverability and speed for the Su-57, which it reflects a mindset of the mid 20th century focus on dogfighting tactics. In contrast, the US invested in stealth technology and advanced avionics, communication, battlefield awareness for the F-22. They recognized the importance of superiority in modern warfare and striking the enemy before they even see you. So the F-22's ability to remain nearly invisible to radar, it has the radar cross-section of like a B or something, make it almost, or obviously that gives it a huge advantage. Relating this back, I see I have a red card, and you're not supposed to say that. Relating this back to where I found myself during job interviews a few years ago, I guess what I'm saying is that I'm kind of like an F-22. And who's competing with an F-22? I mean, nobody. Thanks.
We all stood for you. You made that she did. Excellent. Thank you so much. I have to say, I was actually just talking to a bunch of people this week.